Welcome to the last video looking at contingency planning, and in this video we're going to look at business continuity planning. So business continuity clicks in or starts when you lose an entire site. So you're trying to continue your business operations, but you're completely down one of your data centers. So what do you do? And again, you can look at this kind of overarching chart. This scenario should not occur very often, where you completely lose a data center and you're going to have to relocate or bring up another site. But it does occur, and you have to plan for it. This is going to be expensive. Typically, the CEO is going to be involved in this type of a discussion because of the cost associated with this and the evaluation of risk. So here are a couple of components of it. So again, I think I've talked about the first one. The NIST guidance is really very similar to what you see in disaster recovery. But in disaster recovery, your site is still operational. You're still working. A disaster has occurred, but you're still working out of your main facilities. In business continuity, the difference is you've got to move locations, and so you're going to look at how do you do that siting, and there's actually a taxonomy associated with that. So let's go ahead and look at that very quickly. So here are your contingency strategies. First of all, you have the opportunity to have dedicated sites. So you could have a site that is hot. And what I mean by hot is that means you've got a second data center, and if your first data center goes down, that second data center immediately has everything already in place, already has the applications installed and up to date, already has the data there, so that your hot site can go live. And so if you're working in the financials market, this is typically what you will see, because every second that you're down, you're losing millions of dollars. And so it's worth the cost to have another site that is up and running always, ability to address this. And if you look at the picture of that plane, that is a hot site. You know, if the White House is taken out, you can continue the operations of the United States of America from that plane while you're in the air. And so that's an example of a dedicated hot site and why you would do it. A warm site is a location where you may have the applications and the internet connectivity and everything else, but you don't have the data, and you're going to have to load the data within that site. So you're going to have some downtime, you're going to have some disruption of business processes, but because you've done all of this work ahead of time, you're able to come up much quicker than you would from the other alternative in terms of a dedicated site, which is a cold site. So a cold site is where you may own the facility and you've got parts of it in, but you may have to actually order processors. You've got to load the data, you've got to configure it. So you've done some work for this, but it's cold. It's going to take substantially more time to come up. So those are your kind of three options. The hot site obviously is going to be the most expensive. The warm site is going to be of moderate expense, but it's fairly substantial. And then the cold site is going to be the least expensive of your business continuity options in the dedicated realm. Now you can also do a shared facility, and these involve either working through mutual agreement. Look, I'll cover you if you cover me, under the assumption that both sites are not going to go down at the same time, or working through a service bureau that allows you to do this as well. So again, it's kind of a mutual agreement, but with some costs involved with it. And the idea is that not everybody is going to go down at the same time, and that assumption may not be true. You got to be careful there. There's some risks there, but the costs are going to be lower than going through a dedicated site. And then finally, you can do a timeshare, and it's really based on the same premise, just a different way of doing it, with the underlying idea that not everybody is going to need business continuity at the exact same time. And again, that may be a false assumption. You've got to look at doing a business impact analysis, figuring out what happens if you do lose a data center, if you do lose one of your major businesses or business organizational sites. How disruptive would that be to your organization? What would be the cost to your organization? And is it worth standing up one of these 6 options associated with business continuity? Regardless, you should do that analysis and address it at least on paper so that you have something in place before moving forward. And then if you're going to execute one of these contingent strategies, all but that last one, that mutual agreement, is probably going to cost you some money. So you're going to have to get it worked into your budget to have these contingency strategies in place. Well, look at that. We've come to the end of this particular chapter, talking about continuity planning and looking at the various components of that. We're going to move into policy during our next discussion and look at the 3 different types of policy statements and how they interact with information security and privacy. Thanks so much for listening. Look forward to seeing you in class or online as we explore computer security and privacy.